Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Product Coalition European Tour podcast series, where today I'm really excited to be joined by Aazar Shad from UserPilot. Aazar, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm really looking forward to talking about product experiments. Experimentation is close to my heart, so I'm looking forward to chatting through this episode with you. Now, for those listening in, unfortunately, Aazar and I can't be face-to-face like we originally planned in Munich due to the COVID-19 situation, but I do look forward to getting to Munich another day, Aazar.
Indeed. I'm waiting for you there, man. I'm waiting for you.
So this is a remote recording for those listening in. That does mean there may be some sound issues, some dropouts, or a little bit of background noise due to my new Airbnb that I'm in over in Lisbon. There's some construction going on. So apologies for any of that. We'll certainly do our best to bring you value regardless. Now, the Product Coalition European Tour was originally designed for me to visit 5 cities and interview over 50 product leaders to gain insights, knowledge, and experience to share with you. However, all of these sessions I'm trying to now conduct remotely. So the tour and every single episode was dedicated to raising awareness and support for the bushfire affected communities and wildlife in Australia. Those communities, many of those communities have also been affected by the lack of tourist dollar that will come into those communities this year due to the COVID-19 situation. So if you enjoy this episode and would like to support the communities, wildlife or volunteer firefighters of Australia, you can do so over at bushfire.productcoalition.com. If you've just discovered the Product Coalition, welcome. We're a global product community of over 500,000 readers, 6,000 Slack members, and thousands of podcast listeners. You can find out more about us at platform.productcoalition.com. Now, before we get stuck in, I do need to give some big thanks and shout outs to some businesses and individuals that have made significant contributions to the bushfire fundraiser that I mentioned. First up is UserPilot. UserPilot is a code-free user onboarding and adoption tool designed especially for product management teams. UserPilot helps to increase conversion, user retention rates, and reduce churn by guiding new users to their first aha moment with interactive walkthroughs, contextual product tours, and onboarding checklists. It allows product managers to build fully customizable, behavior-triggered in-app experiences with a simple visual editor. You can head over to userpilot.com to grab a demo and a free trial. Shobit Chug is a Google product manager, and Shobit helps product managers become product leaders and have careers they can be proud of. Go to intentionalproductmanager.com and sign up for Shobit's free class on the habits that turn product managers into exceptional product leaders and help them move through their careers fast. Product-led teams like Mixpanel and Flexport know that the best time to capture engagement is when a user is already inside the product. That's why they use Chameleon to drive feature adoption, build onboarding flows, and gather user feedback. You can give it a go at trychameleon.com/success. I'd also like to thank Rich Milanoff, Chris Miles, and James Woodley for their significant contributions to the fundraiser. Aazar, let's talk product experiments. This is going to be
cool. Definitely. Right after my competitor, for sure.
To make it stand out. Cool. So we get stuck into product experiments. And this is obviously means a lot to you and your role at UserPilot. Do you mind sharing with the audience a little bit about your background, your career, and what you're sort of smashing through over at UserPilot at the moment?
Yeah. So first of all, my right name, I don't know how people pronounce it, but my right name, way to pronounce my name is like Aazar Shad, and I am a Pakistani. First of all, I've grown up there since 25 years, and then I came to Germany. I was studying here in Germany, and then I stayed here and started my 2 different startups. One was on Uber for awkward items, and the other one was on GDPR, and both were like hot topics, especially the Uber market, the crowd shipping, and then GDPR for a certain while. One of them didn't work, the other one did work, but it didn't grow as well. So then I started working with UserPilot, and UserPilot, as you know, is a product user onboarding tool, and it helps companies with product managers actually to help their users adopt their features faster. And that's about it. Should I go on or?
No, all good. No, it's a great intro. So lots of growth there. It sounds like bringing products to the right market at the right time has been a significant part of what you've been able to achieve there. So we're going to chat through experimentation, Aazar. Could you just give me a bit of a summary? Why does this topic mean so much to you?
Yeah. I would say that a lot of people right now in product and SaaS are going with their gut feelings and thinking about, well, if I do this, this will help. If I do this, this will help. And we should have this kind of sign up process and this kind of sign up process. But nobody's actually investing in experimentation, in a sense that, you have a feeling, but like you should definitely run an experiment, see which one works and which one doesn't. And especially my customers and my prospects, usually they do struggle with experimentation when they come inside like user pilot. They directly want to start building the flows and explain the user what it does, but they don't think like, okay, you know what, I know I have a problem, but what if I don't know what's the solution of it? And I should try 2 different solutions to actually see which one actually works and not just have an assumption, right? So that was just my belief in this. And I think a lot of companies, as they mature with time, they grow, they should start doing more experimentation. There's one downside of experimentation as well, because there are too many experiments which work and don't work, but some of them are running at the same time. And that's what I've heard from my people, my product managers actually, that they don't know which experiment actually worked. And so, but I still believe that this is something that we should keep doing it and keep believing in it, so that we should find out what actually works for our own audience. And that's why it's so close to my heart.
Brilliant, brilliant. Certainly close to mine as well. I've been a long time advocate of hypothesis-driven development and design, and everything to do with product. So product-led growth is sort of the topic today. Do you mind just clarifying for the audience what product-led growth to you means, Aazar, and how that's different from sales-led growth or marketing-led growth?
Yeah, definitely. So I've been writing a lot about it on product-led growth recently to different blogs. So it's just my own definition. I think product should be the main engine that drives the growth, right? And this is actually good for companies that are above a certain revenue, and they want to, they know that the product is great, and they want to get free users in to actually experience the product first. And then, especially in tech and software market, and not only just tech and software market, I think most of the markets, you do have this product experience first. Like, for example, let's forget about tech. Think about pharmacy, right? So in pharma products, when these sales guys go to the doctors and they say, hey, we have free samples, you should try it. So, and that's their product-led growth, right? And nobody has thought about it, like people are doing it. But I think for me, product-led growth is when you experience a product first, and that becomes the growth engine, which increases the conversions as well as referrals for you. And you should definitely, especially if you're a software company, the first thing that comes is, does it work? And then you say, okay, it works. You get what it is and you get what AHA is, but you say, does it work? And does it help me does it give me the superpowers? And the superpowers are the software companies, things that the value propositions are, and those things the user should experience themselves before actually talking to a salesperson, because there might be too many complications in software. It's not a very simple tool. Maybe it's very advanced, a lot of different things. But if product can explain what it is and how it can help those superpowers to enable those users to use it, is something for me is product-led growth.
Great. Yeah, the definition difference I often use, particularly with clients, is the sales-led growth is you paying for it upfront. You pay for it, and then the value is shown to you. With product-led growth, you see the value first, and then you pay for it, and then more value is distributed back to you over time.
Yeah. I actually believe that sales-led model does work for people sometimes, especially when the product is too complicated, and you know that the user will not realize value for next 3 months. And so what should we do? Like, okay, you should go through the process. This is how it is. Trust us. We will get you through this process and you will get out of it. But sometimes, like, one of my customers actually came from a competitor which does this model. And they, at the end, the customer said they overpromised and did not underperform. So you always, and that company is actually also enabling product-led growth. So it's kind of surprising that it didn't happen for them. But I totally agree that, product-led growth is a new thing and people should start investing in this and thinking about it. But not everybody should do it. Like, for example, if you're a completely new company and you're a startup and you go through freemium model, you don't even know like who would actually pay you. So if you have a freemium model, you might not even able to convert enough. So I think like this is a model that applies to everybody, but in time it should apply to those people as well. And but you said one more thing, which was marketing led, right? So I've been thinking about it, which product actually does marketing led process. I would go with like something like Google or Facebook, which is like big word of mouth product, like, you know, where you have to put money in to actually use their Facebook ads or Google ads, right? And although the product is doing it, but like their marketing was so good that people have to try it. So that's the difference for me. What's your opinion on marketing?
Yeah, I think in like, to use the Google analogy, it's when they give out the coupon codes to create an account. So it's similar to the product led growth, but it's very top of funnel focused. You know, it's all about grab as many email addresses as possible, get all of your marketing and remarketing automations set up and fire it home until you can convert them. And again, you're charging them for on the part two is get their email address. Part one is get the email address. Part two is get them to pay. But then it can also be marketing and product. So part one is get the email address. Part two is get them on the freemium. Part three is get them to pay.
Yeah. So, I actually believe that e-commerce companies and e-commerce related businesses are actually more marketing led, because there's no product there. There's an end product that the user use, but like you have to pay it and you have to get into that funnel to actually use it, and that the coupon code, as you said, use it. So I think that would be more e-commerce focused, but I think it does suit different businesses have different way of looking at it.
And I've certainly experienced where it doesn't work. So in enterprise finance products that I was involved in, for instance, it's sort of B2B at an enterprise level in a highly regulated, a lot of upfront integration work required. You wouldn't put all of that effort in for product-led growth for a freemium option. So in that instance, the sales approach makes it viable, else it wouldn't be.
I actually have like a contrary opinion to this as well. I have a customer right now who's going through user pilot product tour journey. What they are doing is they have an enterprise related product and they have to integrate they have to integrate Oracle, Salesforce, so many different products and then go through it. But what they are doing and this is partially both, right? So what they're doing is they're making a product tour demo version with user pilot, showing, okay, this is what it does, click here, go through this checklist. And so the user sees the demo version, and they don't have to buy it. They just see the demo version, but they can't use it. Yeah. And then they have to talk to salesperson. Okay, I get it, what you guys are doing. Let's talk. So I think you can still enable people to show in SaaS, we use like dummy or templates to make people use it. So I think you have to use product experiment to see which one works for you, right?
Well, that's where the art and the science come together. So could you talk to me a bit about then, how do you go about setting up your experiments? Where do you start?
Yeah, so I actually start with like first of all, what's the problem do we have, right? So again, I also try to educate this to our users as well. Like when they come inside user pilot, they say, hey, we have this problem. I say, okay, how did you find this problem? And they say, most probably it's coming through user interviews, and that's how they find out, or most probably it's coming through analytics. So the problem, where the problem is coming from. And then once the problem is there, you have two hypotheses. If this works or that works. And based on that, you run the experiments on it. So for me, it's more about, if I just, to answer your question correctly, would be like just looking at the problem first and looking at the problem, making two hypotheses, and then running both experiments at the same time to see which one actually works, which one doesn't. And we did like one experiment with one of our client. Apparently it was a social media tool. So like there's so many social media tools, people come in and they want to use it. What we did was in the first week, we just like, one of our features is checklist. And then in checklist, what happens is that it just gives you certain tasks when you come inside the application. And it tells you, hey, these are a couple of tasks that you should do. And there are like thousands of buttons when you come inside the application, or maybe hundreds of them. 1,000 would be the exaggeration, but like hundreds of buttons. And in those hundreds of buttons, there are 3 to 4 tasks that the user should focus on initially. That's what we preach, right? So she ran an experiment, and she found out her conversion rate was around, her checklist completion was around 6%.
Right.
And then I said, hey, do one more thing. and add like a dummy checklist, which is like one dummy task which they have to do nothing, it just automatically marks it done. We call it Zeigarnik effect, and I've been preaching about it, but this was the first time I actually used it. Right. And I used one dummy task and said, now let's see how many people go through and complete the checklist. And we found out that there were 27% of the users who actually went through the checklist and completed the experience. Then I did not stop there. I said, hey, let's do this way. Let's add two dummy checklists, two dummy tasks, and the rest of them stay the same. And we added like all of them had already an incentive. So if they completed, they get 50% discount off. But like all of them had the same discount, but just adding two dummy tasks increased the completion to 40%. Yeah. Which was like a huge number for us to know. It's already on our blogs, and we can just link it in the show notes. And
yeah, great.
This is something that actually made us realize that this Zeigarnik effect. People talk about, hey, if some tasks are already done, people are more likely to convert. Actually, run through an experiment, we see like not just one thing you can do 2 to 3 things to actually see which one actually worked or not. So this was like my way of looking at it. And just to think about problem, her problem was that people were not creating enough schedule a post task, and then after schedule a post task using connecting before even that, connecting the Facebook or other social media tools, and then schedule a task. And then when the schedule a task is done, going through the group accounts and linking the accounts together. There are a couple of tasks there, and yeah, the Zeigarnik effect worked, and that was one experiment that came out successful, and I'm happy to share with you.
Right. I want to bring back to some fundamentals. Do you have a belief of what a good hypothesis is or isn't?
Oh, that's a very, very tough question. I have to be very honest with you. I think a good hypothesis is or is not, for me, would be that when you actually know the problem and you have one strong opinion about it, and that would be a good hypothesis. So for example, I can just give you an example that would be easier for. So my hypothesis is, and I believe this is from the core of my heart, that product tours don't work. Right. That things like product tours that people put, hey, click here, they don't work. And people say, hey, I hate pop-ups. Usually I hear this a lot. Hey, pop-ups don't help, tooltips don't help. They are just old school. This used to work, it doesn't work. So the hypothesis is very strong on the one side, is like these things don't work. And so we run two, like the hypothesis is don't work and something else works. So what that something else is? And for me, it was interactive walkthrough. So we ran 2 experiments and saw which one actually helps the user adopt feature better. And we found out that the interactive walkthrough helped better. So if that answers your question, like what is a good hypothesis? Like when you have a strong belief and opinion about it and you found a problem, is a good hypothesis to run test against.
And do you use a sort of template when it comes to using words of a hypothesis? Is there a format or template you use to create consistency, or are you sort of pretty free flowing with that?
Yeah, so I think we all do that in the Jira ticket, like as a PM, I want to, so that I can, so I use that template, and I'd make things simpler so that everybody can understand in the product team and marketing team as well. And that's the template for me. I don't have a magic wand that I can tell you and say, hey, this is my template.
No worries. Cool. So what are some of the obvious upfront experiments that product people should be running that maybe aren't running, that you'd recommend starting with?
Yeah, so I think one of the like I have a huge list of things that you should be running, like I do a couple of them. One of them is like sign up process. Like what is the great sign up process? Should it have 2 screens, 3 screens? Should it have 1 field, 2 form, 3 fields? Look at like 2 different ways of letting people inside the application and realize the value. That's one experiment they should definitely run. The second experiment is usually people have a belief that you should personalize the experience. So sometime, for example, when they come inside the application, you say, hey, what you would like to do? And then you give them 3 options. And among those 3 options, you see, okay, which one the user clicks first. So that's one experiment, but you can also do another thing is like, just give them 1 option and directly take them to the activation point and see which one actually works. So these are the 2 different experiments. The other experiment that I did already shared with you was, we call it product tour versus interactive walkthrough experiment. So just as soon as people come in, take them people through a product tour, say, hey, this is this button, this is this button, this is this button, and see if that user actually converts or become at least an activated user themselves, or through interactive walkthrough and see if they actually click on it. So in user pilot, we have this unique feature called driven actions, where we make the user click on it. So the idea is that, like, you should definitely see if clicking people make more activated or just product tool more helpful. So these are a couple of experiments that I usually suggest. Also checklist experiments. So 1 dummy, 2 dummy that I already talked about. That is one more thing as well. But there's another experiment that they should run, is based on once they have been onboarded and the user is already power user, what are the features out of 2 different features actually would people will find more useful. So you should run experiments, A/B test on different features and show them different kinds of buttons and show them which feature actually makes them more engaged, that they're coming back to the application. And this is something that they should also run. So and that's what we call feature engagement, where you make the user engage with the feature and see the behavior on the cohort versus the user who looks at different feature and engages with your cohort or not. And so that would give you a lot more insights and experiments. I think right after onboarding, retention and feature engagement, something that a lot of product managers don't do that. And if they do that, they have bigger hypothesis than smaller hypothesis. I think we should keep testing that. And this is something that they are not doing it. And I would love them to do it. And we are doing it internally as well. So
Great. Yeah, that's some good tips there for anyone who thinks they may have inherited or be running a feature factory to constantly revalidate your features. They might have had some great adoption 2 years ago, but is anyone still using them? So there's some good tips there. That is very good. Can I ask, how do you go about feature feedback and asking at the right time, not interrupting people when they're trying to adopt features? How do you recommend collecting feedback from customers in a product?
Yeah, that's a good question. So something in our application or in our philosophies, we call it like contextual onboarding, and contexts have to be really good. Like we call like custom events. Like you need to pass certain events inside the application. So let's just take an example, right? So for example, if the user has already, if we are trying Gmail, user has already tried compose an email, and user has already sent hundreds of messages. So that user knows a little bit about Gmail application itself. But the user doesn't know a couple of features, such as like snooze button. Have you tried snooze in Gmail, right? No?
Really.
Oh, so you must be using Gmail a lot, if I'm correct. But there's a snooze button.
Yes, I actually use an email software client instead of Gmail native. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm an inbox hero kind of guy. So
you built it yourself?
No. Yeah, so I use Airmail for managing my email.
Okay, got it. So there is in Gmail, there's a feature called snooze, where you can just snooze it for 4 months, for 4 days, and then come back, or 2 days, whatever the date you want to come back to. So that it reminds you, it's a reminder for you, right? You don't have to respond to that right now. And what I'd suggest is, like, first of all, pass that feature that you want to get feedback on, and show them like a simple hotspot and drive them towards that feature. And right after they clicked on it, they did something on it, you can ask a feedback. Hey, what do you think about, like, not asking how do you like this feature, like for example, you can say, was this feature useful? Did it save you time, 10 hours, 5 hours, 2 hours, whatever that is. The idea is that whatever the value attached to it, you should ask feedback around it through forms, through open questions, through lines or paragraphs, whatever that is. And that's something that you should do it. And in order, once you find that feature, and only show it to people who have already been power user or user that, and they have not used it. So you have to do really segmentation a lot. Mm-hmm. And then once you get like features from your power users, you can release it to a lot of people as well. So like just getting the feedback right away through micro surveys. Yep. That's something that I usually suggest for feature feedback. I actually was talking to one of the head of the product growth at PandaDoc, and she said, I love micro surveys to just get to know like what feature they are not using it. And they even take interviews as well on top of it. So this is something that, so one of the example in user pilot that I use a lot is like, we have, we're building integrations with product analytics tools like Mixpanel and Mixpanel, Amplitude and Heap, and we have Google Analytics and Kissmetrics as well. But what we found out that only like 10% of our users actually using like connecting the integrations. So for me, the good question would be like, hey, what kind of product analytics tool do you use? So right now we only have one-way integration. We don't have two-way integration. I can actually ask this question, what kind of product analytics tool do you use? And we know if they're using a certain one, then we can go and build that specific product analytics integration. And this is something that would be very useful to me as a product and growth guy, and build partnership with them, run webinars with them. And that's what we also enable. But the idea is to get feature feedback, which one do you actually want to build before actually the user do it. One more example, there's this product expert called Hitensha. It's kind of a mentor of mine as well. And so he did very, very useful thing with Drift. So he showed a hotspot to a tool and made the user click on it. And then he asked in his chat, what were you trying to do with it? And then asking follow-up questions. So that's like feature feedback. When you haven't even built it, you have built a gate on it, and you wait for the user to click on it, and then you ask the user the right question. And that's we call feature feedback, where you really get the feedback before the release to know what to do next, actually.
I love it. And in turn, you're getting further product qualified leads on that feature.
Yeah, exactly. And you can first release it to them.
Yeah. Brilliant. I'm going to go off script a little bit here. What are some of the metrics that matter for product people? What do you see and talk about when it comes to really important metrics to focus on in SaaS-based businesses?
So the first one is actually activation. And activation is not like, hey, did you confirm your email? But usually that's the activation email we get, right? Activation is something really important, which is actually directly related to your conversions and your adoption and retention. So activation, for example, in user pilot, we suggest a user to install the script. We have a lot of, so as soon as somebody comes inside the user pilot, they go through the checklist and the whole flows. So they can create their own flows on their own application. On top, they can install the Chrome extension, and then they have to go through and there was one more thing, install the JavaScript. And JavaScript is the biggest motivator, which is called lag, for us to know if the user has made enough efforts. So for us, if somebody does that, then we run after them like crazy, say, hey, we're here to help. We know you've made the effort, and we want to make sure that you get complete value out of it. Somebody who creates an experience is partially activated. So for me, the one would be an activation, and that's in product-led growth we call PQL, product qualified lead for sales, where somebody does something very critical inside the application. So that's something that product manager should always focus on. That's one metric. The other metric is feature adoption and product adoption. So there are secondary and tertiary features that actually help the user retain, make them retain better, right? So imagine, again, I will use HubSpot example, and HubSpot has the best example there. HubSpot has been one of the best product-led growth company out there. So what they do is like, I've been using their free CRM. I haven't started paying them. And then what happens is that when I'm on the email, I tried copy pasting a couple of templates in my Gmail. The Chrome extension was there in the Gmail, and I just copy pasting a couple of emails. After the second one, HubSpot showed me, hey, try copy pasting, try our templates. And that's very powerful, right? So you need to wait for the user to do secondary or tertiary features, because like HubSpot has like basic features such as, okay, you create a contact, you create a deal, you create what was the third thing called? You create an opportunity, and then you start sending emails. But the thing you didn't do was like using the template, and template is an upgradable feature. So this is something that I would say that second most important metric would be the feature adoption or product adoption. And the third thing would be user satisfaction, which is attached to your customer effort score, NPS score. And I think you need to analyze and measure these. And the last one would be product usage. So you need to know which product is being used, which is not, and how to drive adoption towards that. Again, it comes in product adoption. So these are a couple of metrics for me. I'm not going into sprint metrics and the product feature prioritization metrics, because that's completely in development side.
Yeah, cool. Right, the last one I've got for you, it's a hot topic, particularly in the B2C space. How'd you go about validating price? what to charge people and the right price point.
That's the dangerous question you've asked, actually.
Because, podcast?
Yeah. Well, I have actually not completely unlocked it, but I have some idea. Right. What we did was, it's a counterintuitive way. What we did in user pilot, we kept increasing our pricing every quarter, without even any intuition, without any research, just because we looked at competitor, we looked at like what features they are using, and what features are people has the most usage, and what we did, we kept increasing and kept adding more features on top, and people still kept paying. So that was the simplest way. If somebody is like at their road to like a certain MRR or ARR milestone, that would be the simplest way to do it, because if the users keep paying, there will be some users will drop, but if they keep paying means that you're doing something right. But the actual way is actually to do like weighted average feature based research on pricing. So you need to see which features are at the journey, like at the start, at the beginning, at the end, which features are the most valuable to the users, and what does it do, and why they can't like build, or why the alternatives suck, right? So what are those features, and then you make a feature pricing value matrix out of it and see which one are most valuable, and based on that you try to find pricing around it. So I would do that. That would be my next I would say project, and talk to users about it, and I think the best way is to also like do the real-time interviews, for example, like talking to your existing user and like say, hey, we're going to increase the pricing, what do you think about it? And they say, hey, if the user is like, okay, you know what, you're adding more features and I know that this is adding more value, I'm happy to pay you more. There's one more thing that you should realize, is that if the features are giving 10x value, so if the feature gives you $50 value or $500 value, if it's giving you a lot of value and you know you can't build it, then you should definitely charge more. And so I would just do like feature versus value versus pricing cost feature, and not cost pricing value feature, and see which one actually is most loved by our users, and then decide which pricing to charge. There's a couple of pricing features that you can simply differentiate by, like for example, having kind of a like enterprise features such as access, security and stuff. But I'm talking about like feature based pricing, and I would do that actually.
Nice, thank you so much. I've learned a lot here. There's some awesome value and tips you've shared with me here. So thank you so much, Aazar. It's been really good.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me, and good luck. I love Product Coalition. I keep looking at this Slack community and following the topics there. So keep doing a great job, and hope to come back soon with another topic.
Yeah, I'd love it. Thank you so much. Thanks for everyone listening in on the call, on the podcast, sorry. And for those that may be watching on YouTube, thanks for having a watch as well. If you'd like to hear more episodes, you can head over to platform.productcoalition.com to hear the rest of the podcast from the European tour. If you've found value in this awesome podcast that Aazar's done, and any of the podcasts, feel free to support the Australian communities that were affected by bushfire over at bushfire.productcoalition.com. Until the next episode, thank you very much.